Welcome to Spiritual Light. Today we have here in the studio with us our dear Elsa Rossi, Silvia Gibbons, Charles Kempf, and myself. I'm in for Stevan today. So we have a special topic for today. So we welcome you all on the internet with us. It is a great pleasure. So the topic of today is spiritual reflections on the tensions of war between countries. The world is tired of wars and needs peace. So, Elsa, how are you? Welcome to
Hello, my
Spiritual
dear
Light.
friends. I'm so happy to be here once again, especially Munir, when we have to discuss something very important. I'm not king of wars, but we have to reflect. I'm not king of death, but we have to talk about death. So it's a life. So welcome everyone, our dear friends that will be here later on, and everyone can receive our hug. Thank you so much. It's good
Thank
to have
you.
Silvia here again.
Yes, hello, Silvia.
Hello, good evening. Nice to
Good
be with
evening.
you all.
Thank you. Hello, Charles.
Hello, Munir. Hello, Elsa, Silvia. Hello, everybody. Indeed, let's touch about this sensible topic, and let's try to bring the Spiritist body of knowledge point of view.
Thank you, Charles. Yes, some topics they are we have a certain barrier in order to talk in depth about these topics. And as Elsa said, it is important that we talk about them. It is important that we bring them closer to us and shed some light on them. Then we lose the fear of certain topics. Elsa mentioned war. Elsa mentioned also death. And so it is important. It's part of our worlds. So we shouldn't avoid these topics, but discuss them in the light of Spiritism, which helps us to see from a broader perspective. And that's what we are going to do today. We'll try to do, at least give our contribution. And of course, those watching us, if they want to make some comments, put some questions, they are welcome to do that. So, as we mentioned before, we are tired of war involving countries, war at so many different levels. And I have a first question that I want to, share with you all. So according to Kardec, the passions of men are the true cause of war. So what dominant passion is in our own lives, anger, envy, pride, that most needs specification to bring peace into our immediate circles? So, Elsa, would you like to make some comments on that?
Yes, Munir, it's very important to talk and reflect about. If you consider the moral and spiritual crisis that is affecting human beings at the present time, we can easily realize that these are the times predicted in the Acts of the Apostles. And I would like to bring here, before I carry on, a message that I received from Dr. Mickey Collins. He's not here now in the chat, but he's sent a message in my WhatsApp and saying something that I want to share with you, just because he sent it to this live today. He said, Elsa, we can certainly be inspired by higher order spirits about the futility of war and the importance of opening our hearts to love God, the earth, and each other. So easily we could stop the wars, any kind of wars, family wars, internal wars, political wars, wars with ourselves, fighting sometimes with futility that we are attached. And we could easily finish this if you put love above all. Love with understanding, love with comprehension, love with empathy, love with compassion. Everything is virtues that Jesus brought to us in a philosophical way, make us happy. But once we are attached to material, more than spiritual, we are in this bridge of things and bring and come material things to our existence. But one day we will be there. We see our developing our meeting now.
Thank you, Elsa. So your opinions on that, Silvia?
Well, this is a very complex question, isn't it? No one wants war. Unfortunately, because of the nature of our planet, we still have wars, and we still will have it for some time, foreseeable future. But this is something that we'll overcome and we'll grow out of it, because I'm thinking about the explanations that the spirits gives us about the law of destructions and the law of wars, and how things sometimes have to be destructed to grow again, to be renewed. And we as spirits are in this process as well. Although nothing justifies the cruelty and the destruction of life that wars brings to everyone. And basically we need to be against wars, because, as they say, it's just the predominance of the animal nature over the spiritual nature. In planets, more advanced planets, there is no law of destructions, because people have morally and spiritually, they have evolved, and that's the way that we are going as well. Because although the destruction, all the pain is all part, I think, of the process of evolution, because sometimes, unfortunately, God gives us the opportunity to learn lessons every single day without having suffering, without having pain, or going to despair, but we ignore it. And that's why I think sometimes we need to be in a situation you have to go through a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, and most of it is caused by ourselves, our own actions. So that we can learn lessons and get tired of suffering. And I think this is a very important point there for us to understand, because wars exist because of the nature of the animal nature of man over his spiritual nature. We have wars within our own families, with people we know. Or, when you go out in the world, you see sometimes certain reactions that people have, mistreating someone, pushing someone to sit in their seat in the bus, or, small things like that, because we see the big picture, but we don't see the small one. And I think we need to begin to be at peace with ourselves. To have a little more understanding for ourselves, a little more kindness for ourselves, because sometimes we demand so much of ourselves. We want to be angels when we have not the necessary base to be an angel. We are in a process of being angels. We know that. And I think, going back to what Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. So in a way, when we stop having these wars that we have with each other, we cannot understand sometimes. If we make mistakes, we are terribly cruel we call ourselves names. So this is all part of the greatest, the great wars that you say out in the world, because our own thoughts are negative, unkind, and this, grows. So I think we have to start, I think it was, the campaign that Divaldo used to have about the peace of the world starts in me. And I think that's one of the things we need to be more kind to ourselves, more understanding, more loving, make the change that we need to make. We all have things we can improve upon and work on this, but with kindness, because once we start being kind to ourselves, we'll be kind to others. And that's how it is. And out there in the world, let's behave in a kind of way towards others. And although we cannot change the world, we cannot stop all the wars by a whim, a wish, but we can make the world around us into a peaceful oasis that can grow, and people, once they are attached by it, they can grow their own oasis, and it grows and create a world in which wars are no longer necessary, because no one will be fighting it, because everyone will be at peace with each other. I think it's a difficult thing. It's not difficult. I mean, sometimes I say there's difficult. No, it only requires that you say, I'm going to change food. I'm going to be a better person, and I'm going to work towards being a better person. I'm going to be more understanding, more forgiving, more loving. And that's how it starts. It's not difficult. It just requires us to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a better person than I was before, and start working towards it. It just move our pride out of the way, because I think one of the greatest problems that we have in humanity as a whole is pride. Right? We feel offended with things, and it's like somebody offends you, they are rude, they're inconsiderate, they betray you, they do something that is really unfair. But it's their problem, isn't it? They are the ones who did it. They have the responsibility. And although sometimes we feel very hurt and we feel unhappy about it, just okay, cry a few tears and just stand up and say, okay, that's his problem. He will deal with that. Mine is that I'm not going to take on board that gift that he gave me. I'm going to return it, and I'm going to make the best that I can. I think it's small things really that will make into very big things. I think there was this Saint David, the patron saint of Wales. He used to say, do the small things. And I think if everybody does the small things, we have a big one done. So that's what I think to begin.
Wonderful, Silvia. The thought that crossed my mind while you were speaking, Silvia, is the fact that, yes, amongst all our imperfections, intolerance, selfishness, pride, and so on, we are so much attached to material things, to the material world, so materialized, because behind wars, for instance, there's always the material interests. I want your oil, I want your water, I want your rare minerals, rare earth, because I need to foster my industry of electronics. And so there's always this interest, If economically you are not viable to me, well, I may not even, contemplate going into war with you, because, I will spend money, make tremendous effort. So we see that, material aspects of the world still comes first before anything else. It's not just that we are imperfect in terms of our selfishness, our lack of virtues, but also there's this economic interest. The same regarding the problem that we are facing in the atmosphere now around the world, with the gases, the emission of gases, and so on. Why don't countries stop that? Because to them it's interest, the economic side of it. If you affect their economy, they'll say, no, I don't agree with that. There is no global warming, because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't appeal, because economically, to me, it's going to, harm my industry, and so on. So we see that we are still very much attached to material things.
But don't you think, sorry, but don't you think as well, that's, a great point, isn't it? It means that it's a lot of ignorance on that, because in a way, and I suppose if everyone would accept the law of reincarnation, they wouldn't do it, because they know they are going to be born in the world they are creating now, isn't it?
Indeed.
So it's a lack of spiritual knowledge.
This is the light that Spiritism can shed on this world subjects, and that's the importance of the discussion that we are having here today, to bring some elements from the spiritist side, so that people can see from a different perspective. So your views, Charles, please.
Yeah, a lot of things has been told already. But indeed, it's interesting. We told about this global warming. The effect only of the war in Ukraine is around 100 million tons equivalent of CO2. And this is without accounting all these crazy plans that are existing today to increase the expenses in making guns and armament. So it's amazing. I mean, we did not really learn the lesson. I am born in 1960, so this was 15 years only after WW2, and I'm born in a region where WW2 was quite intense, in Alsace, which was just at the boundary between France and Germany. So my 15 years ago, it was yesterday. Go back to 2025, it was 2010. 2010 was yesterday. It was quite recent, isn't it? So my father, my mother, my grandfather, my grandparents were remembering of this period, and they told a lot about it. All the experiences they have, a lot of stories they told us, and it's quite interesting because when we listen to these stories, there are some very bad stories, but there are also some very nice stories. The bad stories are, of course, all these people who are dying, and the people mourning, and children without parents anymore, and so on and so on, or parents losing children at 20 years old, or stuff like that. The first thing to consider here, as per the Spiritist body of knowledge, is death is only an appearance, because death, again, I'm repeating and repeating, the spirits get free from the body. Only the body dies. The spirit is immortal, cannot die. So that's the first way to see the things, to see it. But the second thing is, for instance, I remember when I was young, when my father or someone, he had a lot of friends, when someone needed something, spontaneously, without even asking, there were some 5 to 10 people coming to help. There was a solidarity which was incredible, because during the war, these same people, one had the rabbit, the other one took some grass for eating to the rabbit. Then another one was able to how to say, to prepare the rabbit for becoming meat, and so on. So there was a huge solidarity created during the war. And this, I saw it 15 or even 20 years after, very, very intense. And it's something that nowadays, albeit we have all evolved, but I don't see this solidarity in the same extent. So we can see here that, and also WW2, some resolutions have been taken by the leaders of the countries. I just take the example between France and Germany, which were fighting one against the other, 1870, WW1, WW2. And since, you see, 80 years are passed already, I'm again living close to the boundary of Germany. We are friends. We are the same people. I think one generation after, it's fully pacific. No one would, except some extremist people, but a very vast majority of the people understood. No, we don't want this anymore. The problem is, that is what the consequences of the wars for this particular example I gave. Unfortunately, it's not yet understood in the same degree as it should in the other countries. But I tell this as an example to show that, yes, some resolutions can be taken. The people can understand we are the friends, we are brothers. There is no boundary anymore. There are bridges crossing the Rhine River where all the people can go by bike or walking totally free from France to Germany and back, as if it would be the same country. So a lot of things have been done as a consequence of this dramatic episode. So when you asked what are the what we should, as a priority, work in ourselves, in humankind, to avoid the wars. One point here as well is evil is not coming from God. Evil is coming from man, from humans. Okay, God has given to humans a free will. So, per definition, having the free will, the human is free to select between good and evil. Okay, so it makes no sense of blaming God, saying, if God would exist, he would not allow these things to happen whatsoever. No, we have to look in ourselves. And Silvia told it as from Divaldo, the peace in the world starts in each one of us. Okay, so this is also a big lesson that we have to learn and to understand, to think pacifically. Remove all these things about competition, which unfortunately is too much encouraged right now. Even the children at school, you need to be good, you need to have good results in the school, otherwise you will have no chance in your life. And we are conditioning the children as young, not in the right way. We should, of course, encourage the children to learn, to work, and to be efficient, but not in a spirit of competition. And also, I'm also thinking that, you see, for instance, things very common like a football game. Well, as long as it is a game, fine. But is it really a game? First problem, it's a business. So, but that's another story. Second problem, you see, you have quite heavy the so-called hooliganism, which is going also growing. So this should also be stopped because it's also a kind of war. One may say better the people being fan of their clubs than fighting in a war against another country. But okay, we should even remove those things, wipe these things completely from our thoughts. And last but not least, the biggest hurdle is, of course, selfishness and pride. And you told it very clearly at the beginning, Munir. I want your land. I want to impose you my way to see the system and the society. And so all these things should be stopped. We have the law of freedom, also very well taught in the Spiritist body of knowledge. And we should always respect the liberty of everyone and not trying to impose them our views, our way of being, our way of living, and things like that. Of course, all this is a little bit theoretical, but that's really the way we should go in order to consider all the humans as our brothers and sisters. Because here again, the Spiritist body of knowledge teaches the same spirits are incarnating everywhere. Black, white, yellow, whatever, woman, man, poor, rich. So even if we today we would, for instance, between France and German, I'm sure a lot of German incarnated in France and vice versa. So that is the humanity. It's the richness of the humanity is in this diversity. Even so, the same spirits are incarnating everywhere in each country, each culture, and each condition. So it's one more argument to treat everyone as a brother, as an equal in front of God.
Yes, Charles. Many people say that during war times, humanity evolves a great deal. And it's not because of war, because we know from the Spirit's book, part 3, the law of destruction, for instance, that war is a sign of our inferiority, the level that we are, still too attached to the material world with all our imperfections and so on. But something good can come out of that, because these situations will help us see, as you mentioned yourself. And during war times, we have a common threat. This common threat makes people get united and put so much effort into achieving things that are for the good of everyone. So we stop thinking less in selfish terms and start to think in a collective term, because what affects one or a small group will affect everyone, basically. So this is the good that I think the spirits say can come out of these situations. And one day these imperfections will go, war won't be necessary, but these lessons to live in a fraternal way, to think collectively, not just me as individual and the others. Well, they go their own way. What I do is for my own good, and it doesn't matter if other people will be harmed with that. This type of attitudes will, change. And as has been mentioned by basically everyone here, is we have to start by ourselves. This is our homework, individual homework. If the whole world is going to change in our lifetime, we don't know. But our duty is to do our homework and start to bring peace to wherever we are. And I start doing that, you people start doing that, and people in other places will start doing that. In the beginning, we'll be very, very few. But soon, when we realize, we'll be all doing similar things and promoting humanity, or promoting, the earth, the planet, to a better level. And then comes the question in terms of what we're experiencing now. We're experiencing people too concerned about their countries, their borders, and seeing, everyone outside their borders as almost as enemies. It gives the impression that we are going backwards instead of moving forwards in terms of fraternity. Well, we are, basically one humanity here on the planet. Why do we have to segregate people in different areas? Of course, there are some natural affinities, natural tendencies, and natural groupings. But what seems to be happening today is that I want my little corner. I don't want anyone outside this place here, or that, in my view, does not suit me. I don't want them here. So what has Spiritism to say about, what is going on in the world about borders, nationalism, and so what do you think, Elsa?
I was thinking about a lot of things, Munir, what you are saying, Silvia, Charles, that I think that the world has its days already numbered, because slowly and progressively a new era for humanity is becoming a reality. Although we have a lot of chaos, but it is order, has order in the chaos. Right? You said in the middle of the war, in between war or after the war, a lot of good things come to aid humanity, as penicillin, as another kind of things comes. But when comes, again, the man used sometimes for bad things or evil things, as Charles mentioned. So, as Allan Kardec announced in regard to chapter 18 of the book Genesis, the time has arrived. The advent of Spiritism holds the promise of Jesus as the consoler. because its basic principles gradually influence the minds, opening wide and promising horizons that have already been outlined. We should see this because in times of crisis, widely disseminated around the world, affecting all human beings, I am not happy seeing that there are men, children, elderly people suffering in some countries, and we are here, Rodrigo is protected, but we try to understand better why this destruction come to the world. The law of destruction you mentioned encompasses a lot of other things, né? Necessary destruction and abusive destructions. And I invite you all to open the book in chapter 6, as Munir mentioned, of the Spirit's book. Destructive calamities, wars, murder, cruelty, dueling, the death penalty, and much more. So easily when we study and undergoing this kind of things, TVs and media brings all the bad news, etc., we are aware that everything is followed as a, okay, say, divinity agenda, but we are the inferior beings still. And we need this kind of situation in order to wake up and grow up. We need to put in practice, as I'm seeing here, what Daniela says. We have to put in practice Jesus' teachings. Jesus as a philosopher, Jesus as a professor, Jesus as a psychologist, not priest, not religion, but something that we should put in practice in order to benefit ourselves as well. Love one another, love God, and love yourself in order to love others. So we have to put in practice. There is no other way really to change the world unless we change ourselves. Silvia mentioned this as well. And the majority still prefers pleasure, fame, money, and power. So it's still fighting, it's still vengeance, it's still hate. And we are tired of that. Really, we are tired of that.
Okay, good, Elsa. Thanks for your contribution. Silvia.
Going from something that Elsa said, we are tired of that. I don't think we're tired enough. The moment we become tired enough, then we will stop it. And I think we know that we are in different levels. Spirits are. We as spirits are in different levels. Some of us have been longer in this world. Some of us haven't been so. Some of us have been through lessons that have moved us. And I hope that this understanding, it would be good for us to move on in our lives. I feel, Elsa was talking about the chapter of Genesis, the times have arrived. And, going back to, I think one of you made also a reference to the book of Revelations. And not only within Spiritist literature, but the Bible, the prophet Daniel and some of other prophets, they've predicted the time that is happening now. And Jesus, in his prophetic sermon that you can find in Mark, he talked about it. And I think sometimes, something that happened not very long ago reminded me so much of the words that Jesus said in his prophetic sermon, that, it is a terrible thing, go, the mothers and everything. Because I think this world now, we are really, and it's also in many cultures, the idea of this transformation. Some people believe that we are living now from the era of Pisces into the Aquarian year. That's more humane, that's more loving and more understanding amongst men. But everything to go to a superior world, you have to break free. If you think about a little bird, a chicken or something that is in the egg, to come out, he has to fight and break the shells so he can come out of that. We ourselves, when we are born, we have to break the things and I think that's the word, because, a lot of people mentioned the fact that there's a lot of people selfless, very materialistic. They don't care for what's happening to the planet. I think one of the greatest worries really about the planet, as far as I see it, is the question of how we are polluting the seas. Because, the air and everything, is only a consequence. We are destroying a source of life, which is the sea, with rubbish, and they have this currents that go taking all this stuff, which is terrible. Because we only think, what we can do today. I have money today. I was watching a program the other day about some pictures, in some countries, pictures that were taken from the space station, and some of the things that's happening in South America, in the Amazon forest, because the Amazon forest doesn't go only to Brazil, it goes over as well to Peru and everything. And some of the destructions that are happening there, people don't even know what it is. They don't even know who is actually doing it. And it's a total destruction of the environment, it's destruction of the trees. They're polluting the water, sending a lot of poison into the water. So, because how much more money do they need? And even the governments don't know anymore who these people are. So there's destruction, because a lot of people will not want to let go of their possessions or what they think is theirs, and they forget that doesn't matter how long they will leave this earth, they will die. Their life will come to an end, and they are going to go into the real world. That's where we come from, which is the spiritual world. And the baggage that they're taking with them is all the destruction they have caused. But the bags of money will be left here, And I think we are going through now this terrible situation. We know that there are a lot of people reincarnating on this earth now for the last time. Is that God is giving them the last opportunity to learn, to grow, to be better. Otherwise, they'll be reincarnating in inferior planets. We know that there is a lot of transformation technology. We know that there are many, many spirits of light being born now to take the planet forward. And it'll be a new renaissance, I think. But, a lot of people are still holding on to power. And I think, when we read Genesis, as Elsa was saying, that chapter about the times have come and the end of times, and it's almost like the whole of the earth actually is purging, isn't it? Is really bringing out a lot of the things that they don't want anymore, and it's cleansing away. Maybe it's my own prejudice, and I apologize if people are offended, but I find now most people look like, they're completely covered in tattoos, piercing. It's so unnatural. It's such a destruction of the beauty of the human body, and I know people think it's art, it's wonderful, it's marvelous, and, they transform their face to look like some kind of animals and all kind of things. And I find this is also part of this transformation. Some of them are remembering, going, to the times in which it was fashionable to, and now we're bringing this. But for me, it's part of this process of cleansing that the planet is going through. Sometimes I ask myself, why should I be reincarnating now, living through this? What lessons do I need to learn from this? And I'm sure that must, really have to meditate on it, because there must be something very important that I should be here now at this very moment. But on the other hand, there is terrible situation, the terrible destruction of the planet, the terrible wars, absurd, completely absurd things happening. People being quite angry with each other. And, the thing that Charles was saying, when I came to England, I came to England in the early 70s, and it was a different world. You know, what he was saying, how people came together to help each other. It was true, you know. If you stop something, someone would stop and say, "Are you all right? You know, do you need some help?" Or if you would stop with a piece of paper, with a map, someone would stop and say, "Can I help you? Where do you want to go?" And I mean, I myself had the experience of people actually almost holding my hand and taking me to the place where I want to go, rather than keep explaining the map. We don't have this anymore nowadays. Everyone is so into their phones, completely isolated from the environment, even when they are driving. And, you know, it's crazy. I was nearly knocked down by a car the other day in front of my house because the car stopped and I thought he was stopping for me to cross. And thank God I looked. He was on the phone. And when he saw the cars had moved on, he just drove and I just had time to jump back because he was driving to get into a major road and he was on the phone. So he didn't even see. So don't cross the street unless you know they are looking at you because that was a big thing. So it's all part of this transformation. I don't know how you feel. And it's the cleansing, as bad as it is, you know, it's going to be cleansed and it's going to be good again. It's going to be a better world, a world like, you know, as Charles was saying, people come together to share their food, to share their you know, take care of their neighbors. We're going to because the world is transforming, is changing to a better world, and we are blessed by the knowledge of it, I think, because help us not to become despondent, because I think that's one of the problems, is to become despondent, is to feel there is no hope, because everything is so bad that you cannot see hope. And this is a terrible thing because people feel isolated, unhappy, suicidal, and that's one of the great problems. So I think, you know, we need to have a little more understanding, really needed to reach out and help.
Good, very good. Thanks, Silvia. And Charles, I want to add another question on that. We know that the core of Spiritism is charity. And according to the gospel, according to the gospel, according to Spiritism, we should pray for those who persecute us. How can we do that if it is difficult to do regarding a person? How can you do that in times of wars or towards nations that are considered to be our enemies, or, you know, to wants to inflict war upon us? In practical terms, how can we apply that? How can we see the situation from this perspective?
It's quite simple to answer. If you pray for your enemy, Spiritist body of knowledge shows how what is the effect of the prayer. The prayer maybe is not visible in the physical life, albeit there are some remarkable recoveries or some other effects which are more and more happening right now. But if you pray for your enemy, you send him love, you send him good thoughts, what will happen? He may, thanks to this, become better. And if he becomes better, he will eventually stop to be your enemy. So it is in our interest to pray for our enemy, isn't it? Very simple answer. And these things, you know, that Spiritist body of knowledge is teaching. When we look about the traditional religions, okay, so we told about Jesus, the moral teaching of Jesus, but Jesus really must be separated from the religions which have been done by mankind on top of him. Jesus was not Christian. He came to bring to moral teachings. But what the mankind did from these teachings was exactly the opposite of the teachings themselves, isn't it? And till now, it's like this. What is the biggest what is the biggest cause of the wars since the past, in the past 1 or 2 millennium? Religion. Religion has created more wars than everything else, than political or whatever. You see, so really, we have to go back to the source and wipe this notion of religion, change also those things, because religion has been, the teaching of Jesus has been turned into an instrument to dominate the masses, to dominate the people. And that is exactly why all these wars happen. You put pressure on the people, you restrain their freedom, their liberty. You see, for instance, in France, the king allied with the Vatican, oppressing almost the whole French population until 1789, when there was a revolution. It's also a kind of war. Okay, so was the revolution good or not for France? Well, it's difficult to answer this question, but definitively it changed a lot of things. The people today is not, at least at the same degree, dominated and explored as it was before. So the French Revolution was something that we can consider as necessary in order to come. It took some time. It took almost a century to have a more or less stable regime, democratic regime. And this type of things happened in US, happened in UK, happened in a lot of other countries, you see. So we should really see the other as a brother, and even our enemy, the worst guy in the world, the one which is encouraging and fostering and creating and maintaining and fueling the wars. We need to pray for him in order for him to become better, in order to reduce all this. We need also to pray to awake the consciences of the humankind, that the people stand up and say, no, it's enough, to develop also the discernment of the people, to know, to see better who is who, what is he telling me, what are the hidden intention behind what he's telling me. Is he trying to manipulate me? Is he lying to me? Is what he's saying true, or is he showing me something, a dream, selling me a dream or miracles or whatever, in order to make things that at the end will work against me? So this is what the humanity needs today. And this goes through, Kardec was saying it, Leon Denis as well, the evolution needs to go on two aspects. Only technical scientific evolution did not solve the problem of the war. Religion did not solve the problem of the wars. The religions failed for stopping the wars, and technology also failed for stopping the wars. Because as soon as something new is invented, what are we doing with it? Bombs or this or that or drones or whatever, you see. So really the solution also in this is what the Spiritist body of knowledge is encouraging, is saying we should grow not only intellectually but also morally. We should go back to the source, see these moral teachings, so not only of Jesus but also of Buddhas, of Krishnas, of the Vedas, of Muhammad, of whatever. See all these moral laws and first see that they are absolutely consistent across themselves. There may be some difference of form, of level, of cultures, of way to say it or whatever, according to the time, period, epoch, and region. But at the end, you see, do unto the other what you like the other to do unto you. We told about it already here in this. You can find it in almost all the religions. So these universal moral laws is really what the humanity needs today in order to foster this moral evolution. And that will then be the key for having love your enemy, for understanding why it's better to love our enemies, why it's in our interest to love our enemies, and in his interest, it's a win-win situation, and also to discern between good and evil, because that will be then, I would say, the sustainable and long-term solution for having a peaceful world.
Yes, so thank you very much, Charles. Very important your comments, because today we get news from all over the world in real time, and we rush to take sides. And together with the news, we get also the bias from those who are bringing the news to us. Unfortunately, what we see is we hardly ever see neutral commentators bringing the news to us. They always add to that their personal view or the view of the company they're working for. And basically we are forced into taking one side immediately. Oh yes, they are the aggressors, so we join the group that hates one and loves the other, you see. But from what you said, we should pray for everyone. We have human beings on both sides, or any side. We have people trying to do good as well as people trying to do evil everywhere. Good intentions, evil intentions. So in my perception, it's something that I'm trying to do, apply to myself, is whatever the situation, don't be troubled. Follow what Jesus said. Don't let it trouble your heart. Let's pray for all those involved, and that the situation may be diffused and a good lesson may come out of that. Of course, we won't see the immediate effect on the situation, but we see the results to ourselves. We live in peace, and we feel that we've done what we are supposed to do, because perhaps today I'm hating that person, I'm hating that group, I'm hating that nation, that those people there, because I have this impression from them and I don't like that. And then I realized later that actually it was the other way around. They were not the guilty ones. They were not the ones starting the situation. On the contrary, they were the victims. So then we feel bad twice. First, in the first place, and then again when we realize that we were mistaken. So the best attitude, I think, is to keep ourselves at peace. And when we pray for those who we consider our enemies, we also pray for those who we consider our friends. So basically, we pray for everyone in all the situation, and hoping that the situation will diffuse. If it's a negative one, it will bring good results if it's a good one. But we keep ourselves in peace. And I think that is something already. Because if we are in peace, we will take this peace around us in our relationship, to our family members and so on. So it is important, a good practice, a good exercise to pray for who we consider to be our enemies. I just want to say thank you for those who said hello to us here, and I want just to share the comments by Daniela Paskevich Fagan. She says, we are passing a very sensitive times. We are in transition in our world. This is time to prove our moral and the teaching of Jesus. Yes, indeed, difficult times, they usually require from us this attitudes, and help us see if we are already in the right path, or if we need to rethink our roots. And she also added, the spirituality lets us to pass this time, the free will, and like you said, it is a learned time to change ourselves internally and morally, and teach our brothers and sisters as example. Yes, indeed, when we change ourselves, we naturally, not imposing on others what we believe and who we are, but we naturally become an example for other people. They can learn from us, and perhaps that will be a major contribution to leads the world into a better one. We also have here comments by Juana Mora. The only constant in the universe is change. Just as we grow old, so is the planet. Humans have been using and sometimes misusing the resources of the planet. The time will come when it will destroy. We know that, yes, we may be heading to destruction, but we shouldn't forget that the law of destruction, if we manage to destroy something, then something good will come out of that, despite all the negative impact of a destruction that goes beyond the necessary. We see that in the Spirit's book, The Law of Destruction. But any good can come out of difficult moments like this. The souls now born here will be born elsewhere. That's how Earth was born, out of the cosmic wastes from other planets that blew up. Maybe that's what our scientists call the Big Bang. Well, that is something that is still under research. Every day we see changes in the what scientists are saying about the beginning of the universe. Now it's understood that there is a cycle where there is a period of creation and then destruction of the material universe as such. But we shouldn't forget that we as spirits are moving forward here, elsewhere. One day, of course, this planet will disappear, just like anything else in the universe is constantly moving, constantly changing, as has been said. So the important thing is to move along as spirits, immortal spirits, to move along and promote our own progress in spiritual terms.
I'd like to add something quickly here, Charles. When Silvia and Charles spoke about the war, etc., the last two comments, I wrote here quickly. It is precisely at this hour or this moment, not this time, when shadows seem to engulf the earth, that the divine goodness becomes even more present through an increasing number of people who, aware and awake, are seeking ways to stimulate spiritual values among individuals, among humanity. So we see things growing up as well. So many things are using on the internet to bring peace, to bring love, to bring save life. Silvia pointed the suicide, etc. All these things is part of these burning minds. But we are here to evolve. Doesn't matter what's happening there. We are here to help through prayer. The only thing that we can do. We are not there to save people, but I can send love and care and prayer towards politicians, toward these potentates people, these people of money, etc., in order to diminish their ambitions, in order to bring peace into the world. The only thing that I can say. Okay?
Okay, we won't have time to show some other comments. I just want to thank Roberto Hendrickson. Also, he left a comment here, and all the others as well. We have to make some announcements before we go. We're running out of time. So let me quickly make the announcements. So next week, Spiritual Lights will be honored with the presence of a dear friend, Vanessa Anceloni. She'll be talking about Let the Little Children Come to Me, the moral mission of Spiritist parenting. Very interesting. And the subject will be discussed by someone who knows in depth. This coming Sunday, 7 p.m. UK time, We have another episode of the series, Ernesto Bozano, and this time our guest speaker is Flavio Zanetti. He'll be talking about the book Apportation Phenomena. So it's the 6th of July, 7 p.m. UK time. We have a Spiritist Education Seminar online. This will be on the Saturday, the 19th of July, from 3 to 6 p.m. And the facilitator is Chris Artuso. So everyone, welcome. If you want further information, you can write to office@buzz.org.uk. Also, there is in September, there is an event coming. It's the International Spiritist Congress Joanna de Angelis. So again, we have several guest speakers, and you are all welcome to take part. You have here the link to the website of the event, and also the QR codes. Just point your mobile phone here, and then you'll be led to the site. The study group online, hosted by the Spiritist Center for Peace every Wednesday lunchtime, 12 noon. The books that I studied are Heaven and Hell and the Gospel According to Spiritism. So you have here the Zoom ID and the passcode to join. Also on Saturdays, 10:30 a.m., we have an online course on the Medium's book, and starts at 10:30 until 11:30 a.m. UK time. You also have the details to join our Zoom room, hosted by Guilherme Dias, Charles Kempf, our dear Charles, and myself. All welcome. And the Spiritist Society of London also holds a study group online on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. London time. Also, the book Heaven and Hell and the Gospel According to Spiritism. So the meeting ID and passcodes are here. You are most welcome to join the study. Young people exploring Spiritism together. Weekly online meeting for kids and young children. It's from 6:45 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. UK time on Thursdays. So we also have the details here. Also, Buzz has a newsletter, quarterly publication. So if you want to get hold of a copy, you can write to office@buzz.org.uk. There's one coming soon. Also, the Spiritist magazine, and very, very interesting publication. So you have the link here to the Spiritist magazine. So you are all welcome to, go to the link and find out what they have there. You can also sign up for the Spiritist Radar. The Spiritist Radar is a free news service bringing the latest Spiritist news and resources. So here you have the details, how to join, how to sign up and find out about the latest news on Spiritism. Also learn about our immortal being. You have a chatbot here, and the link is here on the right, where you can learn more about Spiritism using artificial intelligence. And finally, we want to congratulate Kardec Radio for its 14th anniversary, and this is going to happen on July the 4th. So we want to congratulate them and also send our heartfelt thanks for the opportunity of bringing all these programs, not just Spiritual Light, but so many other programs through the StreamYards. So I think that's it. So very briefly, Elsa, Silvia, and Charles, your final words before we go.
For me, I only thank you, Munir. Thank you all for the contribution that we have here from Joanna and other people. And thank you for the benefactors that are helping us in protecting this program since it started. So we are so happy to be here once again. And together, Charles, Silvia, yourself, myself, and the friends and the benefactors, we will stop our internal war.
Thanks, Elsa.
Well, just say good night. Thank you very much. It was lovely being here with you today. And, just sending thoughts of peace and love to everyone who's with us today and who will be listening to a later date. And, we are not going to be destroyed. It's impossible. And whatever good we do, it will be on our account. So make ourselves happy by helping others. I think that's what we learn.
Wonderful. Thanks, Silvia. Charles.
Yeah, let's remember that the peace starts in each one of us. And as Silvia told, peace and love, right? Remembers me also the 60s or in beginning of 70s. All these ideals are here. So, okay, let's wake up, let's stand up peacefully for going towards this peaceful world.
Thanks, Charles. And thank you all very much for your contribution. And I want just to, before we go, just to invite everyone to go to Kardec's books and read a bit in depth what we have discussed here. We have a limited time. We bring some views according to Spiritism, but in the end of the day, this is an invitation for people to get to know Spiritism in depth. So I just want to thank you all, thank those who have been here with us during this hour, and hope to see you all next week, next Wednesday, for another Spiritual Light. So for now, bye-bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
May God bless.
Peace and love.